various components in the mobile network. So network architecture we shall discuss now. So here you can see the whole mobile network is divided into three subsystems. One is the base station subsystem, another one is a network subsystem, and the third one is operation and maintenance subsystem. So in the whole mobile communication network, we have three different subsystems. So this base station subsystem it consists of a user equipment, that is mobile equipment, along with SIM is called as mobile station. This mobile station is having a radio, a air interface with the BTS, base transceiver station. And further, this base transceiver station gets connected to a controller called as a base station controller. So this base station controller is controlling more than one BTS, base transceiver station, and each BTS is in turn serving more than one user, and it has a certain coverage area. So this coverage area again depends upon the various factors, like one is the traffic, that means how many users are it is being serving, and as well as the transpower, as well as the landscape, or you can say the obstructions in the line of sight that is existing between the mobile station and base transceiver station. So that is depend upon all these factors. BTS is covering a range right from 1 kilometer to even it can go up to 40 kilometers. So all these more than one BTS, so each one has a certain coverage area. So each of these BTS is being controlled by base station controller, and more than one base station controller, here I can see here in this diagram. So more than one BSC gets connected to a switching center here called as mobile switching center. So this mobile switching center is controlling more than one base station controller, as well as it has other connectivities to various registers, or you can say servers, like we have HLR, home location register, we have visitor location register, as well as authentication center. It also has connectivity to equipment identity register. So now we shall discuss the various functions of these various registers. So first one is we have here you can see EIR, equipment identity register. So as you could see here, mobile station consists of mobile equipment as well as SIM. So each of these mobile equipment, the user equipment, is uniquely identified in the network by means of a number called as unique number called as IMEI, International Mobile Equipment Identity. So this mobile equipment identity is available in this equipment identity register concerning to that mobile station. So so this equipment identity register has three different further database, like one is whitelist, gray list, and blacklist. So it will be in the blacklist when a stolen mobile equipment is tried to be accessed in this particular network. Whitelist is all the equipments which are allowed to make calls are available in the whitelist of the equipment identity register. Gray list is used whenever some temporary corruption in the mobile equipment has taken place. So that means whenever user wants to make a call, so this identity of the mobile equipment should be available in the whitelist. If it is in the blacklist, then there will not be any calls being processed, even if it is in the gray list also. So then once the mobile equipment is validated, once the mobile equipment is identified by the network, then it will MSC, the mobile switching center, will access the HLR, home location register, to identify what is the identity available in the SIM. So the SIM is identified by a unique number called as IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber Identity. So this International Mobile Subscriber Identity is available concerned to that particular user in the HLR, home location register. So mobile switching center, before processing the call, it will first validate, check the equipment, as well as the SIM is verified through the HLR. Then only it will further process the user request. It may be voice or it may be day one data. So whatever type of services he is requesting, accordingly it will be after authentication by these, it will be processed. And another here there is a particular server called authentication center. So user equipment and user has to be authenticated, and encryption of the user, encryption key is to be generated, that is being done by the authentication center. So authentication center will identify whether user is a valid user or not, or whether it is a cloned one. So all those verification will be done by the authentication center. Only if it is a valid user, then only it will allow the MSC to for further processing. Now another important, since it is an air interface here, so the user has to be uniquely identified. So for which, even though we have the IMSI, but IMSI will not be transmitted all the time. So it will be corresponding to that, it will make use of a TMSI, temporary mobile subscriber identity, to avoid the SIM cloning. So that temporary mobile subscriber identity is available in the visitor location register. So that temporary TMSI is most of the time it is being used only when it wants to authenticate the SIM number, then only it will request the HLR to check for its IMSI. Otherwise, all the time calls will be processed using the temporary mobile subscriber identity. That means IMSI will be transmitted only for a limited time to authenticate the user. It will not be used all the time, because to avoid the cloning and other hacking process that will be taking place for secure transmission. So then HLR also stores the what are the user services, what type of subscription he has done, whether is a prepaid, postpaid, and how much is the balance available with the particular, if it is a prepaid customer, a subscriber, what is the available balance is also being checked here. And similarly, VLR is even it will be made use whenever a roaming user. So whenever a user from other network has roamed into this particular network, he will be allocated a roaming number by this visitor location register. And periodically, the information available in the VLR is gets updated in the HLR. Another important information is HLR always also knows the location where the user is available. So that location is basically the location of the BSC in which the user is available. So the BSC service area, that means BSC is serving more than one BTS. As long as he is available in this particular area, so that identity that is called as location area identity, that means corresponding to this BSC is available in the HLR. And if he is in the roaming, and it will be made available in the VLR. So location is very important, because whenever there is an incoming call, it has to be routed to that particular user, and that is being done through the BSC. So corresponding each BSC is uniquely identified by location area identity. So that is how call processing will be taking place. And this MSC is in turn connected to gateway MSC. So this gateway MSC is responsible for connecting the mobile network to the other networks, like for example, landline network, which is known as public switched telephone network. So it is being connected to the landline network, that is PSTN network, and it is also MSC is connected to the for internet and for other data services, PSPDN, that is packet switched public data network, for various network internet services and data services, data networking. So that is again through this gateway MSC. Suppose if a user is only interested in voice call or maybe messaging from one user to another user, then MSC will process and accordingly it gets connected. But if he is calling a number, a user available in this packet switch network, that is public switch telephone network, that is landline network, then it will be routed through the gateway MSC to that landline network called as PSTN. And suppose if you wants to access internet, then again from MSC it will be, the request will be sent to the gateway MSC, and through the gateway MSC it will be sent to the data network called as packet switched public data network. Then to monitor the whole network, we have two different interfaces, that is called as OMCR, Operation and Maintenance Center for Radio System, and another one is Operation Maintenance Center for Switching. This OMCR is responsible for monitoring this whole base station subsystem, BSC, that is, it is being connected to the BSC, base station controller, to monitor the various parameters connected with this BSC. So that is it is for configuration, as well as configuration of the radio network, and as well as this is also being used to check the traffic, various radio resources usage. All those things will be monitored by through this terminal called as OMCR. Then OMC switch, Operation and Maintenance Center for Switch. So this is nothing but is being connected to the mobile switching center for various man-machine interfaces with the MSC, for various configuration and for monitoring and for management purpose. So this OMCS is required for connecting to the MSC. So this is how the whole network has various subsystems, that is base station subsystem. Sometimes it is also called as a radio subsystem, RSS, as well as we have the MSC along with its various components called as a network subsystem. And for monitoring the whole network, we have OMCR and OMCS, which both together is referred as Operation and Maintenance Subsystem. And since our mobile network is required to be connected to other networks like landline network as well as data networks, then it will be processed through an MSC called as Gateway MSC, Gateway Mobile Switching Center. So this is the various network components. Now we shall also discuss about one by one. Again, we shall in detail discuss about the various components or various network interfaces in the mobile network. One is mobile station. This mobile station, as I said, it is nothing but user equipment called as mobile equipment, plus it along with the SIM is referred as mobile station. SIM is subscriber identity module. So this mobile equipment, a hardware address is uniquely identified by a number called as International Mobile Equipment Identity, IMA number. So this IMA number is identifying the user equipment, mobile equipment. And the SIM is again correspondingly known by a unique number called as IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber Identity. It is a static identity number. So for identifying the each user, and it's this IMSI is also unique number is also made available in the HLR, such that network knows whether is a valid user or not. And similarly, the mobile equipment, this IMA number is also known to the network, and it is available in a register called as Equipment Identity Register. Then next one is SIM. What the SIM consists of: subscriber identity module. As you could see, it is though it looks like a simple card, but it has a chip. So that which contains, it has certain memory also. It contains certain identities. Like one is IMSI. It is a unique number and a static number called as International Mobile Subscriber Identity. And this unique identity is made use by the network through HLR. It is verified only when user validation is required. Otherwise, the network will only make use of temporary mobile subscriber identity. So this TMSI only will be made use, and this TMSI is periodically gets changed. But whereas IMSI is fixed to that particular user. But for temporary, for establishing the call, all the time network will only make use of TMSI, and this TMSI is also available in the VLR, and it is also correspondingly available in the HLR as well as in the user equipment in the SIM also. And since user is moving from one area to another area, his identity is known, that location area is known by a number called as a location area identity. So this corresponds to the service area of the BSC. BSC is in turn controlling more than one BTS. So that means the whole area which it is serving for more than one BTS is known by unique identity of the BSC called as location area identity, and this location area identity is for that particular area is known. It is available in the SIM as well as in the network in the HLR and VLR also. Subscriber authentication key, another important because for ciphering and all, for encryption purpose, a unique identity that which again keeps on changing for every session, that is called as authentication key. KI is made, it is available in the SIM as well as it's also available in the authentication center, which accordingly authenticates the user, and using this key also ciphering is done by the for data for the information encryption. Then next is BTS functions. What is BTS? Base Trans Receiver Station. This BTS does both the transmission as well as reception. Please remember here, all the communication here, it is a full duplex communication. Full duplex communication where both the transmission and reception is required to be done simultaneously. So this BTS is an interface between the mobile station as well as BSC, base station controller. So it is an interface between this mobile station and BSC. BSC in turn gets connected to the MSC. What are its functions? One is channel coding. So this channel coding is required for error detection and correction. So for which we have channel encoding and decoding is done by the BTS. Then another one is another important function of this BTS is burst formation. So what is that burst formation? So you know that here in this GSM, multiple access technique used is frequency division multiple access as well as time division multiple access. That means each user in that particular frequency is allocated a particular time slot. The information will be only made available, his information will be made available in a particular time slot. And that ultimately will be formed as a burst in that particular time slot, and that gets transmitted towards the user equipment. And another important is interleaving. So this interleaving is done again to avoid, because since it is an air interface, to avoid the loss of information in the media. So the bits are interleaved such that because whenever if any loss of information is taking place, it will not be a continuous bits that are lost. Only interleaved, some few bits may get lost in the media, so which can be constructed at the other end. So interleaving is another important feature that takes place here in the mobile communication. This is to avoid to control loss of information. Then encryption and decryption as ciphering. So for secured transmission, we have this ciphering also done by the BTS. And the reverse process, of course, it will all be taking place in the mobile station. And another one is this BTS, since it also required to get connected to BSC, base station controller, as well as mobile station. So there will be air interface, mostly there will be an air interface between mobile station and BTS, but between BTS and BSC, it may be a optical fiber, or it may be even sometimes micro systems also can be made use for achieving the economy. Then modulation and demodulation between BTS and MS, that is again done by the BTS, as well as some, it also does. So please understand here, the user information is transmitted in the traffic channel, but to monitor, continuously monitoring and establishing the connectivity is done through the control channels. So there are two types of channels. One is a traffic channel, another one is a control channel. Through this traffic channel, user information is transmitted to maintain the connectivity. So we also have a control channel, and for various monitoring and for establishing the connectivity, these control channels are being used. So that is again done by the BTS. And another important function of this BTS is signal strength, measuring the signal strength. So please remember here, each of these mobile station user equipment is monitoring all the time. It will be monitoring 6 adjacent cell base station signal strength along with the present connected BTS also. So it will be monitoring here the receive signal strength of the neighboring base stations. about 6 adjacent cell base stations, and this signal strength is being transmitted to BSC. Whatever it has read the signal strength, it will, through the BTS, it gets transmitted to the BSC. This is very much required for handing over purpose. Suppose, as you know, a user is moving from one area to another area, or whether he is moving from one place to another place. So when he is moving, whatever the base station that is being presently served, the signal strength, as he moves away, the signal strength gets reduced. But at the same time, he may be getting a very good signal strength from the other base station. So now the BSC will decide, since all the time it is receiving the 6 adjacent cell base stations receive strength. So BSC will in turn decide if signal strength of the next base station is very good, then it will instruct that BTS to take the control of this mobile station. It gets that means he will be disconnected from the present BTS since signal strength is low, and he will get connected to the next BTS, which has a very good signal strength. So that means this measurement of the signal strength is very much required for handing over purpose. So that is being ensured by the BSC. BSC is another important function that it carries out. So what are the functions of BSC, base station controller? As you could see, BSC is an interface between BTS as well as MSC, mobile switching center. So BSC, base station controller, which is controlling more than one BTS. So that means it is responsible for configuration and managing the various radio resources, that is radio channels, like it is a traffic channel, control channel, all those various channels are being called as radio resources are being allocated by the base station controller. And another important function of the BSC is frequency hopping. So all the time each BTS is transmitting at different BTS except for the control channel, which are transmitted in a particular frequency, and identities of that base station will be transmitted in a particular frequency, but other frequencies are going for hopping. So that frequency hopping is controlled by the base station controller. So that is another important. And handover management. So as I discussed in the previous slide, so base station controller is responsible for handing over the user from one BTS to another BTS based on the signal strength. That is being done by the BSC. So on the instruction of the BSC, the BTS is taking over or handing over the user. Then measurement and observation of various traffic and signaling controlling channels are being done in the radio interface. Then another important function of this base station controller is transcoding. What is this transcoding? So our speech coding is done by different means. In the air interface, or that means in the mobile equipment as well as in the BTS, the speech information is coded with a bitrate of 16 kbps by means of DSP based, digital signal process based. It goes for a different speech coding technique. But whereas in the MSC, it goes for a waveform coding, that is PCM based. Pulse code modulated speech coding process is being used in the MSC. So since there are two different speech coding techniques that are used in the network, so BSC will have a unit called as a transcoder. That transcoder does this conversion from 16 kbps to 64 kbps required for the MSC, and similarly whatever is received and processed in the MSC at the rate of 64 kbps is being converted back to 16 kbps in this transcoder that is connected to BSC. So these are all the various functions of base station controller. Then MSC, mobile switching center. The main function of the mobile switching center is call processing. So it is responsible for establishing the connectivity between the two users. So call processing is very much made use. And as you are aware, in this particular GSM, it goes for the circuit switched process that will be done in the call processing. Then another feature of this MSC is operation and maintenance for man-machine interface to monitor, to configure the switch and various management is being done through the MSC, that is using the operation and maintenance unit. Then interface management, since it has a connectivity to HLR, VLR, and EIR and authentication center, as well as gateway MSC, BSC. So that interface management is also done by the MSC. Then internetwork and interworking. So as we have seen in the architecture, our mobile network is required to get connected to other networks like PSTN, for that is landline network, as well as the data networks. So interworking unit is also working with the MSC for connecting to the various other networks, as well as since it is required to get connected to BSC and all, we have the internetwork. And billing is another important function that is being carried out by the mobile switching center. Then HLR, home location register. The MSC is being connected to the HLR. So this HLR is a database which consists of subscriber unique identities, that is IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber Identity. And also it has, each user is, as we know, that directory number, that is, for example, 9449885. So whatever user numbers are there, it is called as MSISDN, Mobile Station International Subscriber Directory Number. So we, whenever we want to call a person, we use this directory number called as MSISDN. Corresponding to this MSISDN, in this database, we have a IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber Identity. And these two are also available in the SIM, Subscriber Identification Module. But IMSI is a static number, it won't change. But whereas we, for ensuring the secured and to avoid the cloning, we have a temporary mobile subscriber identity, which is being used by the VLR. So these, you can just compare this IMSI and MSISDN with our internet. So you know that whenever in the browser, whenever I type a URL, google.com, so that google.com is nothing but, here you can, we type it as a google.com, that is, you can corresponding to the, similar to the directory number. But the network won't process with that URL address. It makes use of IP address. So same way here, the network will mostly make use of IMSI only for convenience of the user. Directory number is being used similar to the URL number. Whereas you can, just for analogy, you can consider that IMSI is something like IP address in the internet. But this MSISDN, that is directory number, is just like our URL address. That is domain name. Current location, that is where the user is available, location area identity. That means user is available in which particular BSC service area, that is called as a location area identity, is known to the HLR. Whenever there is a change in the location from one BSC area to another BSC area, his location area identity change, and it changes, and it is known to the HLR. Then various supplementary services, user may be requiring various other services, sometimes only various like the number display, or hiding the numbers. All such supplementary services are also made available in the HLR. And whether the subscriber is registered or whether is deregistered is also known in the HLR. And authentication key, authentication functionality is also being done by the HLR along with the authentication center. Visitor location register. So here the user information is temporarily available in the VLR, and after periodically it gets updated in the HLR. Like here, this VLR is having the same identities as that of HLR, like IMSI, as well as location area identity, but it has another this one identity called as a temporary mobile subscriber identity. Most of the time, network is only identifying the user by means of temporary mobile subscriber identity. This is basically done to avoid the cloning, SIM cloning. This temporary mobile subscriber identity also periodically gets changed by the network. It is not fixed, but whereas IMSI is fixed. Network knows what is the corresponding TMSI and IMSI. as well as a SIM also knows what is its a present TMSI and what is the IMSI. So whenever a user is required to be validated, so it makes use of this identity only. And whenever user has roamed into another network, is also allocated with a number, a unique number called as roaming number. So whatever the user information that is being used in the VLR, it gets updated after certain time in the HLR periodically. Then equipment identity register, as we had discussed, mobile equipment is uniquely identified by a number called as IMA number, International Mobile Equipment Identity. So this in the equipment identity register, we have three different lists. One is white list, another one is gray list, and the third one is black list. So if it is a valid IMA, then it will be made available in the whitelist. But if it is stolen or if it is the services are denied, then it will be put in the blacklist. IMA number will be made available in the blacklist. So suppose if the user equipment IMA number is available in the blacklist, then the network will not process his call, his request. And another list is gray list. In the gray list, it only temporary corrupted IMA numbers are made available here. So that means the user equipment is processed, the request will be processed from that mobile station only if its IMA number is available in the whitelist. Otherwise, service will be denied. Then authentication center we have, which is connected to the MSC. It is required, authenticates each SIM. There are different keys that are made use, encryption keys, authentication keys. Using that, it will authenticate the user. Once authentication is successful, HLR will manage the SIM and various services will be accordingly processed. Encryption is basically to encrypt the user information. It may be voice, SMS, data, all gets encrypted in the, because of ultimately in the air interface, the user information has to be secured. So for which encryption is done, and that for that encryption, we make use of encryption key that is generated uniquely for each session by the authentication center. And this will also be available in the SIM and mobile equipment that is in the SIM. By using that, user information is encrypted in the air interface. So basically, authentication center is responsible to avoid SIM cloning by means of various like authentication keys and as well as encryption keys that are generated by the authentication center for each session. So this is all about the operation of mobile network. So I hope you got some idea, though there are so many generations that are coming up. So this is a basic idea that we need to understand for further understanding.